Should we be concerned about the state of Fortnite right now or worried about where Fortnite is going? If you guys don't know, community sentiment around the game has been pretty low over the last couple of weeks. It's kind of felt like we're in this really weird place in Fortnite where the game is actually really good. Like this season right now is very good. One of my favorites in Chapter 6, definitely by far, and I'm going to continue to sing the praises for Chapter 6 Season 3 until the end of this chapter, until the end of Fortnite probably, because I think it's going to go down as a pretty underrated season overall. I've been having a lot of fun, but for some reason, the game just doesn't, it just feels really, really weird. And I just want to put this out here. There isn't any outline for this. I don't have a script or anything. I have no idea exactly where this video is going to go. So earlier today on my community tab, I asked people, how do you feel about the state of Fortnite right now? Comments may be used in a video today. And I asked this question because in this video, I knew I wanted to talk about this, but I had no idea what direction I wanted to take with it because I'm not exactly sure what stance that I have with this. You know, a lot of times on this channel, you guys will see I have very like in place, concrete opinions and I'm able to explain them really well. But when it comes down to where the game is right now, I actually have no idea how I feel about it. You know, on one hand, I want to say that this happens all the time. And on another, the situation is really weird because community sentiment is down, views across platforms are down, but the numbers are still there. And now on the surface, that may look obvious. It may be like, oh, well, you know, that just means people aren't as interested in Fortnite content, but I really am not sure if that's 100% what it is because, and like I've said in previous videos, it's cyclical, you know, views go up and they go down all the time. Even if you compare like, you know, how they were, you know, a few months ago, they're obviously going to be higher than they were. I honestly feel like the Galactic Battle season has a lot to do with this. I think a lot of people like forgot about Fortnite for a month, and that probably wasn't the best thing to do for the game in my opinion, especially with how bland it was overall and a lot of the stuff being recycled. But in the comments of that community post I talked about earlier, there were some interesting comments that I definitely want to include in this video, so let's take a look at a few of them. Someone said in response to how they feel about the state of Fortnite right now, they said, soulless is the best word I can use to describe this season and by extension, the chapter, which is pretty crazy. Not sure about that. Everything we had, we have seen before with several seasons, including the current one reusing season themes. Personally, I feel like the first season of Chapter 6 was very good. I thought that was a great season. I didn't really feel like that was a reusing of a theme, but we've definitely seen, you know, the kind of season 2 theme before. We've definitely seen Star Wars stuff before, and this is kind of a superhero season, but it really doesn't have the same vibe as the other ones, but I get what he means. He says, Epic barely tries new things and plays everything safe. If the game doesn't try something new or innovative that actually helps the game and doesn't just exist to give people something to talk about, the game will die within the next chapter. Kind of a hot take there, not really sure if I feel the game will die within the next chapter. And I think this is something really interesting, and this is why I wanted to read the comment right here. In parentheses, like I just said, he said that that actually helps the game and doesn't just exist to give something to talk about, just to give people something to talk about. That is really important, and I think that's something that we don't talk about enough. It seems like Fortnite will sometimes do things just for the sake of doing it, just because they know either it's going to have controversy, people are going to make videos on it, people are going to talk about it, they're going to get upset, they're going to get angry, and honestly, I feel like Fortnite is kind of a rage baiter. You know what I mean? Like some things that there's really no rhyme or reason to why they're doing it, you know, like with the skin rarities, with, you know, them removing the jam tracks from all of them being in the shop at once, even though it barely helps to, you know, mitigate how cluttered the item shop is. Changes like that really feel like, you know, Fortnite's just kind of like stirring the pot. You know what I mean? Where they do things and then nothing comes of it. Just like with, you know, the something is wrong stuff in OG, or, you know, like the red rift that's gonna come at the end of the rocket event. If nothing happens with those, that will be the best example of Fortnite just doing stuff just to get people talking and theorizing. And at some point, people are gonna get tired of them only adding stuff like that that doesn't affect the gameplay whatsoever, but just makes the experience a little bit worse, or just like makes you just that bit mad to where it strikes controversy and there's more people talking about the game. I think that was a fantastic point there from him. Another person said, I think they've really stopped focusing on what made Fortnite Fortnite, and I also agree with that to an extent, but I'll talk about that in a second. It's really hard to enjoy the game in the state Battle Royale and Reload is in because it feels like they've been slacking with the updates recently. The reason, and this is the part where I want to say this happens every single year, because around this time they brought out a new season, which was really, really exciting, great season, it was so much fun, and then they almost immediately went on their summer break where there is very, very little content, you know, outside of Blitz, outside of the new Reload map, and then after that they went on their break and there was just about nothing. You know, also, I think there is something to be said for, you know, when it's summertime and more people aren't inside playing games. I think that's something to definitely consider. I mean, there's a reason why November and December and things like that, why the money is highest on YouTube then, why there's more views then. It's because it's cold outside. No one wants to go outside, and really the most fun thing to do is play video games. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of people are saying, oh, but people are home for the summer. You know, people are not in school. You know, they're not doing anything. I don't think that's really fair to say, because that doesn't mean they're just going to sit inside playing games. Where during winter, when they're out of school and they're inside, that makes a lot more sense, which leads to more views. But continuing on there, he said, I remember we used to get huge mid-season updates and weekly map changes, but it feels like they just don't care anymore. And it's hard to say that, but hopefully they have something good planned in the future. And this is something too, I can always hold out hope that Fortnite has something really cool planned out in the future, because they plan stuff so far in advance, and sometimes they're a bit secretive with it. Sometimes I do think they release leaks on purpose just to keep people excited. Wouldn't be surprised if we got a gigantic leak or some gigantic news in the next couple of weeks, because they can obviously tell that people aren't very interested online. And you know, when people aren't interested online, that is going to kind of indirectly affect the game numbers and things like that, especially when, you know, social media isn't popping like YouTube and stuff. That definitely does affect the game, and that's something Fortnite is paying attention to. I hate when people say that they just don't care anymore, because I think that Fortnite cares. I think Epic Games definitely cares about this game. I mean, it's made them billions and billions of dollars. In general, I think they do still care about Fortnite. Like, they do still care about the game. If they didn't care, they wouldn't have all this stuff. They wouldn't have added Blitz. They wouldn't be doing all these collabs. Maybe it is a little bit more for the money, but you know, I feel like they have enough money. Like, I'm sure they take a loss every time they do a specific collab, you know what I mean? Just to have it in the game for the players. I do feel like Epic Games cares, and maybe I'm just catering to a multi-billion-dollar company. If you guys want to say that in the comments, you know, whatever. But I don't really think that that's fair to say that they don't care, and I always try to make sure that I stray away from that. But going back to what he said at the beginning, I think they've really stopped focusing on what made Fortnite Fortnite, and I 100% agree. I think the metaverse stuff, they need to step back from that a little bit. I would say stop promoting it as much. I would say let people do what they want. I'm tired of Fortnite releasing new modes and then getting really excited for it, and then all of a sudden it doesn't get updates, or it just is really bad. It's buggy, just like with Ballistic, man. Ballistic I was so excited for because I loved Valorant back in the day, and now Ballistic has shell maps where the actual like stuff, like the graphics and stuff, is just like a mesh map. No one wants to play that, dude. Like, let's be for real. Like, why are we having to play test your game and tell you what we want in it? I think that's a bit ridiculous, and I think Fortnite knows better. They've kind of abandoned that, along with the Lego stuff, man. It just doesn't fit in the game. And to be completely fair, to be honest with you, if they made a Lego Battle Royale, a Lego shooter game, I would love it. I would eat it up, because Fortnite, at its core, it's always going to be a Battle Royale shooter game in my eyes, and I'm not going to enjoy much of anything else if it's not that inside Fortnite. You know what I mean? It feels really weird. Someone else said, very fun yet lacking. I don't quite know how to describe it really, and that's exactly how I feel. There's something there, there's something wrong, there's something that's in the back of my mind that I just cannot pinpoint, and I'm not used to that. I'm very used to being able to communicate my ideas pretty clearly to you guys, and that's why I'm going ahead and reading comments from other people here. A lot of people are saying that they're running out of ideas, and to an extent, I think I do agree with you. I think Fortnite is just a little bit like stuck. I think they're trying to play it safe, and that's what I was saying before in one of my other videos that a lot of people clowned on me for. In one of my videos, I said Fortnite doesn't take risks anymore, and I talked about that, and they were like, oh, well, that's because of Wrecked, and everyone complained about it. It's like, well, I didn't complain about Wrecked. I actually loved Wrecked, and they don't take risks anymore because they know that if they do, and I think Galactic Battle probably was a little bit of a risk. I think they know that probably wasn't going to be super popular, and you know, they took a risk, and it just didn't work very well. You know what I mean? But Fortnite is just doing things that they feel have the highest odds of being very successful and people liking it, having the least amount of complaints. I think that's what they're doing right now. Of course, I'm not at Epic Games HQ. I have no idea exactly what they're thinking it is, but from the outside looking in, from someone who makes videos on this game every single day and has done so for almost a year, that is what I am thinking Fortnite's, like, I guess, headspace is right now. Overall, you guys, I feel really weird about the game. I still love the game. I'm going to continue to make daily content on it. Of course, I love this game. If anything, I just love making videos, so even if the videos are, you know, really not that good or anything, I'm still going to make them because because I love making YouTube videos for you guys, so nothing to worry about on that front. But how do you feel about the content overall? Do you guys feel like, as viewers, as people who consume Fortnite content, however often you do, how do you feel about it? Is there anything that I specifically can do to make you more interested in Fortnite? Please do let me know down below in the comments. Join the conversation. Let me know how you feel. Drop a like on today's video if you did enjoy. I make videos like these every single day. Subscribe to the channel. Use code PROZEROYT in the Fortnite item shop to help support me further, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.